Is supplying the wheels, Chevrolet and you taking charge. And by AT&T, the more you hear, the better we sound.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. The Raiders have come out of the tunnel. The Cardinals across the field have also come back out. There's our score at halftime. Keep in mind it was 17-0 in favor of the Raiders as they were trying to clinch home field in the playoffs just as far as they could go. They have, of course, already clinched the AFC Western Division. You take a look at the first half statistics, and it was all Raiders in that first quarter.
It was all Raiders in the first quarter, Jim. As you mentioned, they had the ball almost in the entire first quarter. Cardinals only 4.5 minutes or so. But the Cardinals came back in that second quarter, a good drive. They got back in the game. You see the Raiders are dominating in total yards, 241 to 132. But the big play is that turnover by the Raiders, the fumble by Plunkett. Cards ran it back in, and they got back in this game. So the Raiders have been dominating, but the Cards have hung in there. They put 2 quick touchdowns on the board.
A couple of key points as you look at Jim Plunkett with 3 touchdown passes in the first half. Cardinals have to start playing some defense, otherwise you can turn out the lights. The offense has been really very, very good considering the fact they were behind 17-0. And we talked just before the break about Roy Green, and he would have to have a big second half. They're still double covering Roy Green, but how about Pat Tilley? He hasn't had a ball thrown in his direction. He doesn't have a catch. If the Cardinals are going to win this football game, Tilley and Green will have to be main contributors in the second half.
Certainly so. Otis Anderson has been doing his share, carrying the ball. He's got 36 yards. He's caught a couple of passes, but you're right. Lomax must get the ball, as we said at the top of the show, to Green and Tilley.
Chris Barr will tee it up from the 35-yard line. Stump Mitchell and Earl Farrell are back deep. This is Mitchell who will field 2 yards deep. He approaches the 10. 20. Breaks it across the 30. Good field position for the Cardinals at their own 33-yard line. Chopped down by Calvin Mohammed, second year out of Texas Southern. So Neil Lomax, 8 out of 12 in the passing department, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Will trot on out along with the offense of the St. Louis Cardinals and the running back, O.J. Anderson. There is Lomax. And, of course, O.J. Anderson needed just 5 yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time in 50 years. Veteran out of Miami, he did that early in the first quarter.
First and 10, St. Louis, number 34.
Slot formation to the left side. Green is outside. Tilley is inside. I-pro set. O.J. Anderson. Big yardage down at the 40-yard line. And what made it all possible, Doc, was a great block by number 24, Wayne Morris, in his 8th year out of SMU.
And O.J. Anderson is the workhorse. Take a look at it again. Wayne Morris will lead the block in front. They're in the I formation. They pitch back to Anderson, gives the back a little more time to read. There you see the block by Morris out in front, and that allows O.J. to get a few extra yards. You know, Mitchell, anything can happen. Mitchell has 3 returns for 60 yards. They get good field position in the second half. I can imagine Hanafin talking to them in the locker room. I'll pick on that, up on that in a moment.
Wide receivers left and right. Green to left, Tilley to the right side. Cardinals look at 2nd and 4. Little delay. O.J. Anderson, look out into Raider territory down at the 45-yard line. Chopped down by Van McElroy. First down for the Cardinals again.
A little misdirection fake to get that Raider defense moving. They're great pursuers, the Raiders defense. They pride themselves getting around the ball. A little misdirection step by Anderson, and that allowed, take a look at it again. Watch the block by Bostic, number 71.
And
okay,
while you
right
look
guard.
at that block, you're looking at the St. Louis Cardinal offense, 13th in the rush. The Raiders, of course, ranked 2nd in the National Football League in total defense. They're 4th against the rush. So that offensive line of the Cardinals starting to do what we said at the top of the telecast they would have to do. Play well and take command of this football game, both on the run and on the pass block. Slot formation left side. 1st and 10, St. Louis. The flea flicker back to Lomax. Lomax looks underneath to Marsh. He's got Marsh. Marsh has got a first down. Ted Watts, 3rd year out of Texas Tech. Interesting. Lomax wanted Roy Green. He looked at Green in the post pattern. Then he looked off. He saw Green was going into double and I think maybe even triple cover.
Not only that, he had Pat Tilley downfield. This was shows tremendous maturity for a quarterback. The temptation is to here is to assume that the deep pass will be there. Here he gets a little bit of rush, dumps it off to Marsh for the first down. That's an intelligent, maturing, comfortable quarterback.
Neil Lomax, can you believe he had 7 touchdown passes in one game, 4 in one quarter against Delaware State? And as a freshman at Portland State, he started out as the 5th quarterback.
Come a long way since then, Jim Kelly. He is the quarterback of the future for the St. Louis Cardinals, the quarterback of the present also.
Slot left, Green inside, Tilley outside, inside handoff to Stump Mitchell. Stump Mitchell breaks a tackle at the 30, did it on his own, got away from Howie Long, and is wrestled out of bounds at the 27 of the Raiders. Big opening possession, and so often you talk to the coaches, they say the opening series, third quarter, sets the tempo and will dictate the entire second half.
Because Jim Hanafin in the locker room said, look guys, we got a chance to come back in this game. I'm proud of you for doing that, but now we have a chance to come back and beat one of the best teams in football, and we can build on the end of the season. We can gain pride, respectability as we think about next year and a slim shot at the playoffs.
Jim Hanafin, the head coach, a tough, hard-working, likable Irishman, great offensive line coach under Don Coryell. Gets his shot in his 4th year, trying to get the Cardinals into the playoffs. They have not been there for a long time. Lomax gets a block, puts it up, looks for Roy Green. A great catch at the 7-yard line.
They don't like it, Jim, but take a look at Greg LaFleur, number 89, allows Lomax to get the time. Take a look at it here.
And watch after he passes the ball. I don't know if we'll see it, but roughing the passer after Lomax releases the football on Howie Long, and that man, number 56 for the Los Angeles Raiders, that is Jeff Barnes.
How about this catch along the sidelines? He's in. Whew, what an excellent catch. Take a look at the roughing. Howie Long, number 75, right here, reading, pushing. Lomax, here's what you block.
Number 56.
LaFleur.
Hands in the head.
Jeff Barnes hits him after the play, right there for the roughing. What a block by LaFleur on Howie Long to give Lomax time.
What a catch by that man, Roy Green.
We talked about inspirational performances. One of the ways teams win in the NFL is to have big inspirational plays by game breakers. Roy Green's one of those. Lomax has the potential to be that kind of quarterback.
1st and goal. Wayne Morris, touchdown. Bostic and Robbins with blocking over on that right side. We talk about the opening series dictating. You think he's a happy Irishman right now?
His team has come all the way back from being down 17-0. And Wayne Morris, great effort. He's only 6 feet tall, 210 pounds, built low to the ground. Here he dodges, spits his way through, and then just refuses to go down, puts it in the end zone. And guess what, folks? St. Louis is ahead.
2nd touchdown for Morris. 5th-round pick out of SMU, and O'Donohue having better success. Raiders were not offsides, and the Cardinals, after trailing 17-0, after having an extra point block, have taken a 3-point lead.
Take a look at another look at the touchdown. Wayne Morris, number 24, up here, ducks away, powers his way in, refuses to go down. He puts St. Louis on top.
He sails this one 9 yards and finally out of the end zone as Montgomery and Pruitt will watch it sail out. And just as the offense is picked up, you can see even on the specialty teams, the intensity for St. Louis picking up once again. The big question is, will it carry over to the defense?
And you might recall early, they weren't doing that on special teams. The Raiders had a couple of good returns. They were getting good field position. Now everyone on this Cardinal team is contributing.
Next Saturday, the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. Giants, of course, and Washington, that great rivalry for so many years. New York hoped to be in the Royal of Spoilers. And, of course, the Redskins, they've got their hands full right now. It's Saturday afternoon, 11:30 Central Time. At 11 o'clock, it all starts with Brent Irv, Phyllis the Greek, and the NFL Today. Raiders from their own 20. Pitch back, Marcus Allen, student body left, behind the line of scrimmage, and the defense answers the call.
And, Jim, I'd like to tell you, next Saturday, that game, Giants at Washington. Remember, if Washington beats Dallas today, they still must beat the Giants to win a division. That is assuming Dallas beats San Francisco next week. So that's an important game for Washington, assuming they continue where they are today, beating the Dallas Cowboys.
Trying to continue the way they start the second half, the defense, as you look into the heart of the Raider offensive unit, the defense of St. Louis, they had a real rough first quarter. They fell behind 17-0. The offense kept them in it, and with some slim playoff possibilities, the Cardinals dig in, but they must win their last 2 games, regardless of what anybody else does. Down goes Plunkett in the grasp of Grooms, the hero of the first half. 9-year veteran out of Tennessee, 6'4", 250. That is some grasp. Look at the forearms. They look like tree trunks.
Oh, they're all, and you know, enthusiasm is contagious. Take a look at the rush here. That's number 65, Galloway, moving over. They're on an end tackle game. A lot of pressure up the middle. 78, Grooms gets a hand on Plunkett, throws him down like a rag doll to the turf. They're hot. St. Louis is hot.
From their own 8-yard line, the Raiders now look at 3rd and 22. Raiders will play it conservative. Marcus Allen almost lost the football at the 10-yard line and is chopped down up around the 18. Bubba Baker had a chance to pull the football loose along with Dave Galloway, and Marcus Allen had trouble hanging on. Lee Nelson finally made the tackle, but they are way shy of first down yardage. Watch the ball almost taken away right there.
And Marcus is carrying it out. He does fumble it a little bit. Somehow he gets control of it again. Pulls it in just before he's hit. Had he been juggling it and been hit, I think it would have popped out, Jim.
Ray Guy, one of 3 Raiders who were on the Raider roster the last time the Cardinals and the Raiders played. Then they were the Oakland Raiders. All set to punt it away, averaging about 42.5 yards per kick, and Stump Mitchell, who averages about 9 yards per punt return. And the Cardinals could come out of this with very good field position. Talk about the Raider domination. This is the first punt by Ray Guy all afternoon, and it was almost blocked. Stump Mitchell, their catches at the 33.5-yard line. Victor Heflin almost blocked the punt of that man, Ray Guy. Cardinals lead by 3. They've got the football, and they've got good field position. The man in the black sweater and the white shirt, Tom Flores, in his 5th year, 51 wins, 26 losses. That figures out he wins about every 2 out of 3 games with the Raiders. Led them to the Super Bowl win over the Eagles back in 1980. But he told us yesterday he was guarding very much against a letdown for his Raiders as the Cardinals start 1st and 10 from their own 33. Green motion, bottom of the screen, play action to O.J. Anderson. Lomax fires, and this one is incomplete at the 45-yard line. But Howie Long had pretty good battle going on with Tootie Robbins there. And Howie Long was able to get through and almost get to Neil Lomax.
And Howie Long is a guy that says, I only do it with simple ABC moves. I don't do anything with great finesse. I don't have great speed. There you see him left side of the screen. He's rushing. He gets a hand on Lomax. Lomax just throws it up. He's lucky it wasn't intercepted. That's an unwise throw by a quarterback. Of course, he's got a lot of pressure from Howie Long.
Howie Long in his 3rd year out of Villanova. 2nd down, 10 yards to go for the Cardinals. They lead 27-24. O.J. Anderson did most of that on his own. Slithers for 5, brings up 3rd and 5. And a big 3rd down call for the offense. To go back to Tom Flores, he told us at practice yesterday, and most of the Raider players confirmed that he had a different type of speech almost every day, talking to the team, trying to prevent a letdown, because you're 11-3, you've clinched the division, you've got a team coming in with a 6-7-1 record, and on paper it looked like a mismatch, but has been anything but after that 17-0 deficit was wiped out.
Jim, he approached it from that same kind of angle, but a little bit differently. He said, we want to build. We've won 5 straight. We want to continue that momentum to the playoffs, rather than approach it from the negative angle of a letdown.
From the shotgun, Lomax goes deep for Pat Tilley. Tilley can't get to it at the 33. Otis McKinney back there on the coverage, and that's a big defensive series for the Raiders as well.
To their credit, though, as we look at a Raider down on the ground, they did not go into their shell. The Cardinals didn't. They threw the ball, which is something they have to do. You can't just run it down the number 2 defense in the NFL's throat. And that's number 37, Lester Hayes, on the ground, the fine cornerback.
He's the man that made Stickum a household word.
That's right. He's the guy that caused them to put the rule in the NFL, no Stickum. Of course, before that, Fred Biletnikoff was covered with the stuff, and no one said anything.
Otis Birdsong back to do the punting now for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Greg Pruitt would like to break a big one here for the Raiders, who find themselves on the short end of a 27-24 score. And, of course, we're still charting that Redskins-Dallas game for you fans back in St. Louis who are watching on KMOX. And it is still 14-7, 14-10. 14-10, the Redskins on top over Dallas. Redskins, by the way, Doc, they've got a pretty good record after they've led at halftime.
Boy, they sure do. They've won out of their 25 games. They've been 24-1 when they've led at halftime, the Redskins. So they're tough to come back on.
Birdsong's 3rd punt of the game. High, wobbly kick. Pruitt will have good field position. Knife down at the 35-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Raiders on the short end of a 27-24 score. We've got 8:50 left to go. Cardinals must win the next 2 to have any playoff possibilities. The Raiders, of course, have already clinched the AFC West, but they're fighting for home field as far as they can go.
Birdsong fell when he slipped. He still got the ball off. So the St. Louis Cardinals lead by 3 when we return to the Coliseum.
Along with John Dockery, I'm Jim Kelly back at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. We've got 8:50 left to go in the third quarter. Cardinals clinging to that 3-point lead, but the Raiders have good field position. Barnwell out wide to the left side. Branch moves into the slot. Running backs Kenny King and Marcus Allen. Play action by Plunkett. And play action by Bubba Baker out of Colorado in his 6th year. You know, Bubba told us a couple of weeks ago, after he came over from the Lions, he was starting to dislike himself with the Detroit organization. He wasn't giving 100%, and he felt really, John, like he was cheating his teammates.
Exactly. And Bubba Baker, of course, you remember a few years back, people that follow the NFL, was the leading sacker in the NFL about 3 years ago. He had up around 20 sacks. So Bubba Baker is a force if he wants to be. Today, he's certainly been that.
Patriots, Mosey Tutupu has scored again. 14-7. Rams are on the short end. Patriots still alive in the playoff picture as well. Kenny King, not much doing over that left side. Excellent defensive play by Dave Galloway in his 2nd year out of Florida, former All-American and the number 2 draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals. It is still 14-10. The Cowboys have the ball inside their own 10-yard line following a Redskin punt. And we're not the only ones that have tempers flaring up. That's a very heated rivalry, Redskins and Cowboys.
9 minutes left in that third quarter, Jim.
Plunkett. He needs a bunt. Over the middle, looks for Todd Christensen. Incomplete at the 30-yard line. Coverage by Cedric Mack. You don't see Todd Christensen drop too many of those.
You don't, and you talk about it. Todd Christensen is a man who wants the ball all the time in every situation. He's willing to take the responsibility. A man who says, you know, like Churchill, the price of greatness is responsibility. I want the ball all the time in every situation. Watch here. They're in a double zone. That means the 2 safeties are back on either side of the field. Christensen splits the zone down the middle. That's Mack trying to catch up, but the ball is well thrown right through his hands. Christensen drops the ball. Perfect call, Jim Kelly, against that defense where the safeties are splitting and he goes down the middle. Good throw by Punting.
Christensen, of course, had that great game against the Chargers when he had 8 catches. Even though the pass went incomplete, defensive holding called against the Cardinals, automatic first down. Defensive holding call on Leonard Smith, the rookie. He's had 2 personal foul penalties, and now a holding call gives the Raiders a big first down. Marcus Allen around the right side, blocking by Henry Lawrence and by Mickey Marvin, but Kurt Alderman fought off the blocks, and the 7-year former All-American out of Penn State came up with a tackle.
And Todd Christensen, when you talk about him dropping that ball, which is a heartbreak for him and something we don't see very often, Christensen is just having a fabulous year and also satisfied. He was cut by the Giants. He was cut by Dallas. He came into the league as a running back. Now he's showing everyone that he is the best tight end in football. He says that himself. I'm producing more than the Kellen Winslows and people like that.
2nd and 9. Plunkett will get the first down to Cliff Branch. Branch into Cardinal territory down at the 49-yard line. He turned Wayne Smith completely around. Cliff Branch will do that to you, though. Branch, of course, came into the game.
He's been doing this for 12 years, Cliff Branch has. Take a look now. You have to respect his speed. That forces you to stay off him a little bit. Here, he has a good cushion, right? Wayne Smith comes up. Branch shows that good speed inside and gets about another 7 or 8 yards.
1st and 10, just across midfield. Raiders on the short end by 3, 27-24. Powering right over the middle goes Marcus Allen. He looked like a hurdling champion at USC, not too far from the Coliseum here. Grooms in control, but not before Marcus had punched his way forward for a pickup of 5.
And you get the feel now, the Raiders are saying to themselves, okay, guys, we were ahead, you guys came back, you got ahead, but now we're going to show you what we can do. We are the division winners in the AFC West. We're going to complete passes to Branch, we're going to run Allen, and we're going to move the ball down the field for a touchdown.
2nd and 5 here at the Coliseum. Bending over the veteran, Jim Plunkett. Pitch back. Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen hurdles again inside the 40-yard line, down at about the 39 in the grasp of Charlie Baker. Cowboys had just punted from the shadow of their own goalpost. Danny White boomed it away, but a great return by Virgil Say sets up the Redskins 1st and 10 at the Dallas 7-yard line. Riggins rambles off the right side, gets it down to about the 6. So it's still 14-10. Big defensive series for the Cowboys. They would obviously like to keep the Redskins out of the end zone, Doc.
More scores around the NFL today, obviously, where Jim San Diego 24-21 ahead of Kansas City in the third quarter. Of course, the Raiders finish up against San Diego next week. They buried San Diego 10 days ago. The Raiders come into this game with a lot of rest.
But the Raider people, we talked with Al Locasal, we talked with Tom Flores yesterday. They were not looking forward to the Chargers coming up here. The San Diego shows so many different things offensively, and the Raiders again afraid of a letdown in the second game after this game against St. Louis. Pitch back, Marcus Allen looks for the play action, and the Cardinals are not buying it. E.J. Jr. atones for that earlier touchdown catch that Marcus beat him on so badly, and he just drilled him down to the turf at midfield.
Not only did he drill him, it was perfect timing on the blitz. There are delayed blitzes in the NFL. E.J. Jr. waits for it to set up. He comes flying through a hole. He's not touched or picked up. There's Plunkett pitching back to Allen. He knocks everyone out of the way and throws Allen to the turf. Great play by E.J. Jr.
Theismann incomplete to Art Monk, so it's 3rd and 6 for the Redskins now.
You look at the sack situation today, St. Louis 4, Raiders nothing, and Raiders came in with 55, leading the NFL.
Jim Plunkett needs a bundle. He needs 18, and he won't get it in the grasp and control of Dave Galloway. The St. Louis front four really playing football here in the second half.
Take a look at it from the end zone. That offensive line of Galloway, Baker, Greer and company just putting pressure on Plunkett. He tries to get out of this and scramble away, but Galloway won't hear of it. Another sack. That's the 5th sack, Jim Kelly. A little bit of a surprise that St. Louis is out sacking the sack leaders in the NFL. Amazing.
And the Raiders have only allowed 2 sacks over their last 3 games. Plunkett bends down. How many 3rd and 30 plays do you have? Out of the pocket. Plunkett will need it all. Fires over the middle to Christensen, who's hammered down at the 38-yard line, but that will be way shy of first down yardage. Leonard Smith, the rookie, he really popped Todd Christensen.
Watch Christensen now. Premier tight end in the game at the moment. Left of your screen. Get off the ball. They're in a zone defense. You see the linebackers trying to get the deep drop. Christensen looking for the hole. He doesn't break outside too much. Plunkett scrambling at this moment. Christensen cuts away from the defenders, right in the middle of everyone, makes the good catch, takes the hit right there.
With 3:14 and counting left in this third quarter, Ray Guy apparently will punt. Interesting play call here for Tom Flores. 4th and a long 8. Line of scrimmage, the 38-yard line. If he kicks it into the end zone, Cardinals will have a net difference of 18 yards. Let's see which corner Ray Guy will aim for. Near side. Looks for the corner. Did he get it? Ray Guy puts it out of bounds at the 2-yard line.
Ray Guy is happy with that call. Look at that. Hard one. The ball is very, very high, Jim. The official is over there. He marks it. See the official right down there getting the angle on the ball. He marks it about the 2-yard line. So the Raiders put the Cardinals in a deep hole. Raiders trailing 27-24 here at the Coliseum.
All of the playoff possibilities as far as the Cardinals are concerned, John Dockery, but if they don't win their last 2, numbers 2 and 3 don't matter.
San Francisco or L.A. must lose their last 2. Now, San Francisco has already won. L.A. is losing, so that remains. Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay must split their final 2 games. They would finish at 8-8, Jim Kelly.
Play action from his end zone. Neil Lomax will unload. Wide open is Pat Tilley. First down for the Cardinals. Pat Tilley's first catch, and it's a big one. He turned Ted Watts completely around, and what a job the maturing Neil Lomax did in the face of that awesome 3-4 rush of the Raiders. Look from the end zone.
What composure. Now think about this. You're a quarterback. You're in your end zone. You're pump faking. You can't find anyone. You start running around. You get pressure, and you still find Pat Tilley. Look at that. It wasn't the greatest pass in the world. Tilley gets his first reception of the afternoon, Jim Kelly.
Kind of a wobbly duck coming out of the end zone, but if you got Howie Long and Reggie Kinlaw chasing you, you probably wouldn't be throwing them on a rope either. Big first down for the Cardinals right now. They get it out of the
How about the call,
line. Danny Pittman and Mike Schumann, slot formation to the left side. This is motion by Danny Pittman, picked up from the Giants. Pitch back, O.J. Anderson. Big block, big hole, and he bowls his way close to a first down in the grasp of Bill Pickel. But blocking over on that right side by Bostic and by Robbins, and right now they're getting the best of it.
Take a look at the left side of your screen. Number 63 in white against number 75, Howie Long, on defense. Good block by Tootie Robbins. He's the young tackle against Howie Long, possibly the best defensive end in the game. There he ties him up, occupies him. That allows Otis to cut upfield and get some good yardage. You know what's interesting, Jim? The play caller. Teams tend to go in their shell when they get ahead. Not the Cardinals. They throw from their end zone, complete it, and now Otis comes flying up the middle and gets some good yardage, close to the first down.
As you look at Tootie Robbins, we talked about that being perhaps the key matchup of the football game. Tootie Robbins going up against Howie Long, and the measurement now. O.J. Anderson, 14 carries, 72 yards for the St. Louis Cardinals. So he has again gone over the 1,000-yard mark for the fourth time in 5 years. Well, when last we left that Redskins-Cowboys game, Doc, it was 3rd and 7. Redskins knocking on the Cowboys' door. He went to the air. Theismann did. Tried to pass it into Joe Washington. It was picked off by the Cowboys, so they kept them out of the end zone and off the scoreboard as well.
Interesting, along the sidelines, David Humm warming up, the left-hander. Remember, Mark Wilson has a bad shoulder. He's not in uniform. He won't play. So it's Plunkett and Humm.
Almost a free play, second in the length of the football. That'll be a Cardinal first down, approaching the 40-yard line. The 8-year veteran out of SMU, Wayne Morris, who has a touchdown scamper of his own for 3 yards this afternoon. And it's still 27-24 Cardinals.
Now you saw David Humm along the sidelines. I'd be in shock if Tom Flores decided to yank Jim Plunkett today, because Plunkett has played so well in the last 5 games, only threw 1 interception and 150 some odd throws. So Plunkett is playing well, and you need the quarterback situation to be stable and settled as you go into the playoffs. So I'd be shocked if Flores decided to go with him.
First and 10 for the Cardinals. Wide to the left side is Pat Tilley. Green to the top of your screen. Stump Mitchell, number 30, the lone running back now. Motion by Marsh, bottom of your screen. Lomax will fire on first down. He'll fire to Stump Mitchell. First down, Cardinals into Raider territory all the way down to the 43-yard line.
What great play selection, Jim Kelly. He wanted actually Roy Green on the right side, who was doing a slant. Watch Lomax here. He'll look to the right. This is composure. This is growth. He looks, he wants Green. He's covered. He comes right back to Mitchell as though he'd been in the league for 15 years. Mitchell picks up the first down. Lomax is in control.
That's the final play of the third quarter. St. Louis Cardinals tacked on a touchdown and have taken a 27-24 lead. We've got 15 minutes left to go in regulation here in the Los Angeles Coliseum, where the Raiders came in with a record of 11-3. They have already clinched the AFC West. They're trying to clinch home field in the playoffs as far as they can go. St. Louis at 6-7-1, still with playoff possibilities, but they must win their next 2 games. We'll be back with the fourth quarter. That's the end of the third quarter. Cardinals lead by 3, but now we pause for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Pontiac. Cars that tell the world you're not just along for the ride. Pontiac, we build excitement. And by Lowenbrau. When it's time for the taste of a truly great beer, let it be Lowenbrau.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. 27-24, Cardinals on top, 15 minutes left to go in regulation. St. Louis first and 10 from the 44-yard line of the Raiders. Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Play action fake, Neil Lomax. Dumps it off to Roy Green. Out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Lester Hayes in pursuit, but Roy Green said yesterday he felt he could beat anybody in the National Football League one-on-one. He gives the Cardinals a big first down.
And they do play man-to-man in a defensive backfield for the Oakland Raiders. Watch this, Green in the slot. That's Lester Hayes trying to run with him. Hayes actually gets bumped off. Green, great speed across the middle, makes the catch, turns it upfield. But you know what? Hayes was picked by his own man, but Lomax once again was looking for Pat Tilley. Green was his secondary receiver. What composure.
Roy Green, who had 4 touchdown catches in 1 half against the Seattle Seahawks earlier this year, lined up wide to the left side in the slot. Pat Tilley is outside. First and 10 for the Cardinals. They lead by 3. All kinds of motion. Right side of that St. Louis offensive line. Robbins, the right tackle, Marsh, the tight end. Let's check the call. Fred Wyatt, the referee. Lyle Alzado, Ted Hendricks, not much of a factor here in this second half. In fact, I think Alzado's been over on the bench along with Hendricks for most of the second stanza.
Jimmy saw the call there against the Cardinals.
False start, number 63, first down.
That's Robbins, the right tackle.
Jim, just to pick up on what you're saying, that Lyle Alzado injured an ankle 2 games ago. Wasn't sure how much he'd play today. He started, he played some. Ted Hendricks has a pulled stomach muscle, so he hasn't played that much this afternoon.
1st and 15 from the 29. Cardinals lead 27-24. Penalty flag again goes down, as does Roy Green at the 25. And you can see the Raiders trying to really hit Green and make him force that football and come up with some kind of a turnover right now, as the Cardinals have got a little something going.
And if you want to know if the Raiders will hit you, boy, did you see McElroy come up and take his shot at Green? Green wise to get underneath that. McElroy, of course.
Number 71, first down.
Watch the catch here by Green. Watch McElroy unleash his body right there. Green gets underneath it. McElroy, the son of a Texas minister, sang in the choir, but he'll come up and crack you, won't he? Oh, remember the defensive backs. I mean, the Tatums, the Atkinsons, all of the great defensive backs that have been the tradition, the Willie Browns here. Great defensive backs over the history of Oakland.
They can hit.
And I say Oakland because they were Oakland, now they're the LA Raiders, of course.
Loose football. Cardinals get it back inside the 15-yard line. Anderson coughed it up. He was stripped of the football in the vicinity of the 20-yard line. The force by Bill Pickell. And it's first. Let's check in on that Cowboys-Redskins game. Here again is Brent Musburger. Long put on Ron Fellows in the secondary right there, and then Michael Downs decided no high fives by the Smurfs. Cardinals looking at 2nd and 1. Lomax fires, left corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Pat Tilley. He beat the veteran Lester Hayes, and for Neil Lomax, that is the 21st touchdown toss of the season, which puts him ahead of Jim Hart in the all-time Cardinal lead.
Of course, Pat Tilley, the man who led this club in receptions for 5 straight years coming in. The great moves, the great hands. Here, he beats Lester Hayes one-on-one. A great throw again. Look at that, over the shoulder. Hayes had no chance. Tilley had him by about 1.5 yards.
Beating Jim Hart record for one season.
A knuckleball. Another knuckleball. It's through the uprights.
13:51 left to go in this football game, and the Cardinals are doing what they had to do. They've got to win 2 in a row. They look like they've got the first one just about sealed. As light rain begins to fall here in usually sunny California, rain has been falling on the Raiders parade. What a turnaround, because it was 17-0 Los Angeles, and what a comeback by the Cardinals. You talk about character and building a program. Jim Hanafin, he has done some kind of job, and that's what Roy Green told us yesterday. He said, they have weeded out some of the players that previously might not have put out 100% for St. Louis and try to turn this program around. Greg Pruitt will try to turn the football game around, and he breaks it back to the 24-yard line. But you talk about character building. That last play, Doc, by the Cardinals, or the last drive, 98 yards. They've had a 98-yard drive, a 94-yard drive for touchdowns, and they've taken a 10-point lead, 34-24.
And Jim, they already also had in the third quarter, the opening drive of that third quarter, 66 yards and 6 plays. So they are putting it to the second best defense in the NFL. This is amazing turnabout.
Plunkett and the Raiders have their work cut out for them here as light rain begins to fall at the Coliseum. Meanwhile, down the road, the Rams are losing to New England by a score of 14-7. And it is still 21-10. Redskins on top over the Cowboys at Texas Stadium. From the 24, Plunkett will go airborne. Almost intercepted. In the middle of double coverage, that's the rookie out of Tulane, Lionel Washington, who almost came up with a big INT.
What a good break on the ball by Lionel Washington. As we look at it from the end zone, you'll see him really charge on the ball. Actually had an interception. Plunkett hasn't thrown one in 150 throws. This one, not a good ball. Great break by the defensive back right there. The receiver falls down, but he can't hold on to it. He had 2 interceptions last week against the Giants.
Plunkett now 12 of 15, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, but the bulk of those stats were in the first quarter. 2nd and 10. Plunkett for his life. Unloads. Frank Hawkins. Great move at the 35. He got 8 or 9 yards with a tremendous move thrown on number 52, Charlie Baker, at the 35-yard line. Doc, you never had him put moves on you like that.
Veteran composure. Watch this, Jim Plunkett. He gets pressure, and Jim is a defensive back. Those receivers and running backs have such great feet, such great quickness and athletic ability. Take a look at Hawkins here. Just dumps it off like a basketball pass. There's the move. 52, Charlie Baker goes flying by. First down, Raiders.
Raiders trailing by 10. Plunkett goes airborne. He's got his man beaten. That's Malcolm Barnwell. It's intercepted by the Cardinals at the 15-yard line. The rookie Lionel Washington to the 40 and out of bounds. First and 10 St. Louis after the rookie from Tulane picked it off.
Jim, sometimes as a defensive back, you're lucky. Lionel Washington that time was lucky. Jim Plunkett, you saw the disgusted look on his face. His first interception in a long time, just because he underthrew this ball. Malcolm Barnwell had Washington beaten by 2-3 yards. The strength of Plunkett's arm betrayed him. Therefore, the interception by the Cardinals. They protect their 34-24 lead here at the Coliseum.
Time left for the Raiders to clinch home field as far as they can go in the AFC playoffs, and time remaining for the Cardinals to protect that 10-point lead. Big interception by the rookie Lionel Washington sets up St. Louis in good field position just across their own 40-yard line. Roy Green goes out wide to the left side. Pat Tilley comes out deployed to the right. Double tight end Doug Marsh and Greg LaFleur, and the running back O.J. Anderson. Cardinals want more. That's Roy Green. Roy Green approaching midfield at the 49, turning around Ted Watts, former All-American out of Texas Tech.
Jim, you have to like the offensive philosophy of Jim Hanafin and the Cardinals. Not afraid to throw the ball. That's a very safe pass. You throw it in front of the defensive back. You pick up 5, 6, 7, 8 yards as they did, put you in great stead at 2nd and short.
Well, Jim Hanafin told us yesterday, he said, look, we're going to go out and try to have some fun tomorrow. We've got everything to gain, nothing to lose. We're going to keep the wraps off the offense a little bit. Ordinarily, you might run the ball, work on the clock, try to sit in that 10-point lead, but he wants a little bit more. 2nd and 2. From the Raiders, and there goes Neil Lomax.
Guess who it was?
Howie Long. I want to tell you a story about number 75, Howie Long, all right? And maybe some of the benefits of Raider power. Nobody wants to get on the bad side of Howie Long. Could be hazardous to your health. Earlier this year, Howie, who we said lives in the Charleston section of Boston, a neighborhood not far from the combat zone, in an area that 60 Minutes says is the highest population of bank robbers in the country. Some thieves broke into Howie Long's apartment, and they took his stereo system. They broke a window to get in. Well, Long solved the problem. He went down to Polk Street, he said, where he used to hang out, and he told one of the kids on the block to spread the word. He said, I want my stereo back. The stereo reappeared mysteriously the next day. That's Raider power.
Wouldn't you bring it back if Howie Long was looking for it and possibly you? And he has led the Raiders to the most sacks in the league. Take a look. Raiders, 56 sacks, San Francisco behind them, 53 sacks, Dallas. And when you talk to Howie Long, I said to him yesterday, Howie, you know, you're not a household name like a Freddie Dean or a Mark Gastineau. He said, just looked at me, no comment about Gastineau. I play defensive end the way it should be played. I play the run, I play the pass, and I'm not out for headlines. Boy, did you see his face when I said Gastineau? Oh.
The cerebral Howie Long. I'll tell you, though, the Jets yesterday, they're getting blown out by the Steelers, and they're high-fiving after their only touchdown.
You know, you talk about disappointing teams in the NFL. Certainly the Jets have to be one. The San Diego Chargers have to be one.
How about this? From the shotgun, Lomax, 3rd and 11. Over the middle. Got his man. First down. O.J. Anderson at the 40 of the Raiders. He beat Jeff Barnes.
O.J. Anderson out of the backfield. You saw Marcus Allen do it on the other side, beat Junior for a touchdown. This time it's the Cardinals' turn. They send their powerhouse out of the backfield, O.J. Anderson. He beats Barnes for the first down. Again, it's play calling, it's balance, it's running, it's throwing, it's not going into your shell, it's being comfortable and saying, gentlemen, we're here to win this game. We're not just going to finish out the season. We're going to show you how things might have been in St. Louis and how good we just may have been.
Of course, the Cardinals go into East Rutherford. They'll tangle with the Giants next week. Raiders are at home against San Diego. 1st and 10. St. Louis, they lead by 10. O.J. Anderson, right side. Nice block by Wayne Morris on Howie Long. You talk about a mismatch. Morris is 6 feet, 210 pounds, and Howie Long is 6'5", 270, and might be loaded up with Skippy peanut.
Right.
That's how he put on that bulk with peanut butter sandwiches, not by lifting weights. But watch the block by number 24 here to spring O.J. around the left side.
Right there. You see him go for the legs. Probably the best thing to do. That occupies Howie Long enough. Long, though, gets up and gets in on the tackle, and that's to his credit. He's a man that never quits. That's what makes him so good.
O.J. Anderson now, 16 rushes for a total of 80 yards. Knocking on that century mark again. Stump Mitchell and Wayne Morris are the running backs. Receivers are split left and right. Green right, Tilley left. Stump Mitchell. Little stutter step inside the 35, down to the 33, in the grasp of Rod Martin. He's been quiet today, 7-year linebacker out of USC. That's the first tackle by Rod Martin.
Take a look at Howie Long. We talked about how good he is, but watch Wayne Morris again on Howie Long. That's the fullback leading the play, coming up, meeting the end right. They takes him low, cuts his legs. That occupies him. Defensive ends hate that, Jim. They hate their legs to be threatened. Take him up high, you have no chance. Take him down low, makes a lot of sense, especially if you're only 6 feet, 210 pounds. And this guy's 270.
And growing.
Growing.
Slot to the left side. Green is in, Tilley is up. Stump Mitchell. Looked like they had a bit of a mix-up in the backfield that time and some indecision. And the Raiders came up with a big defensive play. That's what they needed to do on 3rd and long. And we will undoubtedly see Mr. Birdsong once again. They just started the 4th quarter in Dallas. It's still 21-10. Redskins on top. Cowboys have the football at midfield.
And Howie Long, I mean, is having his problems this afternoon. Take a look at Wayne Morris again, comes at him, will go down low. Howie Long is ready for him this time, tries to get his hands out in front. Watch this, Howie. Wait a minute, what are you doing now? That's when a defensive end might just step on you. I saw Joe Green do that a few times to people. I couldn't believe it. You get those defensive ends angry, and boy, they get mean.
He did that to people he liked.
Right.
Birdsong looks for the coffin corner, sails it into the end zone, so the Raiders get a break. They'll start 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. 8:25 left to go in this football game. Cardinals must win 2 to get into the playoffs. They lead by 10. We've got 8:25 left to go here in the 4th quarter. Cardinals 34, Raiders 24. And the rain picking up in intensity here in Los Angeles. The Raiders start from their own 20-yard line. Cliff Branch comes out wide to the left side. Malcolm Barnwell deployed to the top of your screen. Running backs are split. Kenny King. Check it. It's Frank Hawkins and Marcus Allen. Frank Hawkins. Pick up to the 23-yard line.
And Jim, there's an example of what Jim Plunkett told us. He said, you know, I'm playing better now, I'm throwing less interceptions because, first of all, our offensive line is healthy and they're playing better. We've simplified our system and we're playing better. Also, I'm taking the underneath passes. He did it right there to Frank Hawkins to pick up about 4 yards.
We mentioned the fact that the Cowboys are starting the 4th quarter. They've got it at the 35-yard line of the Redskins. And Tony Dorsett takes a little swing pass out from Danny White and picks up about 15 yards. In the meantime, Jim Plunkett finds Todd Christensen for a Raider first down. He goes out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Chased out by Cedric Mack, the rookie out of Baylor. Big first down for Plunkett and Los Angeles.
Take a look at it again. Christensen, those great hands, good movement, drives into the defensive back, then just breaks away. Here you see him coming across, running away from the defensive back. Plunkett lays it out there perfectly. Christensen with a straight arm, just get away from me, you flea. Gets a few extra yards.
Christensen with 12 touchdown passes so far this year. The club record is 16 by Art Powell, and then Cliff Branch with 13. Plunkett airborne again underneath. Got Christensen again. First down. Raiders again at the 45 of St. Louis.
Christensen, a man that's just so happy to be here with the Raiders. Talks about the individuality that you're allowed to be. Take a look at him here. He knows it's a zone. He gets a little bit of bump. He fights off Baker and then just hooks up. Plunkett reads it. There's good timing. Makes the reception with his hands. Falls forward for a few extra yards.
From the 45 of the Cardinals, Plunkett bending in. Branch wide left. Barnwell top of your screen. Plunkett, look out. Here come the Cardinals on a blitz. Fires over the middle. Double coverage. Incomplete at the 8-yard line. Wayne Smith all over Cliff Branch. And Plunkett, finally they came. It was kind of a delayed safety blitz.
It was, Jim. They had a lot of people coming, E.J. Jr. and company, but the offensive line picked it up, so Plunkett had some time. But there was good coverage by Wayne Smith. He got some help from Benny Perrin. So the Cardinal defense is playing outstanding right now against a team, the Raiders, who have good weapons to come back. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Christensen, by the way, is playing in his 68th consecutive game. He's got 5 receptions, 72 yards. Plunkett now 15 of 19, 234 yards. 2nd and 10 Raiders. They trail by 10. Cardinals with a nickel-back defense on 2nd and 10 Raiders. Plunkett. Incomplete to Todd Christensen. Fans are screaming for maybe pass interference, and I'm not so sure they might not be right. Leonard Smith either made a great defensive play or the first-round draft pick was over the back of number 46. How'd you see it? It's a defensive back.
The defensive back, of course, there wasn't any pass interference. I mean, we can't pamper those wide receivers and tight ends any more than we already do. I mean, they're simply overpaid prima donnas. Take a look at the upper right-hand side of your screen. We'll seriously take a look at it for you now, folks. You got to watch number 45 right here. Looks like he might have been there a little bit early, honestly, Jim.
3rd and 10, Raiders down by 10. Blitz is on. Plunkett unloads over the middle on the post pattern to Branch. He misses him at the 5-yard line. Branch had double coverage, and he will draw a crowd. Wayne Smith and Cedric Mack are back there, and Ray Guy comes on to do the punting. Kind of a surprising call with 6:45 left to go, and you're down by 10 points. We mentioned in the first half, Ray Guy, one of 3 Raiders who originally played in the last game, the only game that the Raiders and St. Louis have hooked up in, back in 1973. You know who started at quarterback in that game for the Raiders?
For the Raiders, let me see. Oh, Snake Stabler. Who else? Wasn't that the beginning of the Snake Stabler era for the Oakland Raiders?
Was indeed.
Now the Snake, one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that still calls his plays at New Orleans. They won today, by the way, Jim. Beat Philadelphia.
Ray Guy will go for the far coffin corner. Stump Mitchell will watch it sail out of bounds. He got it again. He put the last one out of bounds at the 2. This one at the 4.5. But the last time he put it out of bounds at the 2, Cardinals went 98 yards for a touchdown. The St. Louis Cardinals, 6 minutes and 37 seconds away from a 34-24 win. Cardinals ball when we return. A reminder for you fans at KMOX in St. Louis, Cardinals leading 34-24 here. At the conclusion of this game, we'll take you to Texas Stadium in Dallas for the conclusion of that Redskins-Cowboys game. Right now, though, the Redskins are up 21-10 after a pass interference against the Cowboys. They've got it 1st and goal, Washington does, at the Dallas 7-yard, or make it the 4-yard line. First and 10, St. Louis at their own 4. They lead by 10, and O.J. Anderson takes the pitch back, and he barrels up to the 9-yard line. Blocking over on that right side again by Bostic and Robbins. Jeff Barnes hanging on.
Jim, remember last time when they were buried down deep in their own territory, they threw the pass, Lomax out of the end zone to Tilley. Here, another big play. Otis Anderson barrels ahead for about 5 yards. They send motion the other way to try to get the defense thinking that direction. They bring Otis back, and they get good yardage.
San Diego, no problem at all with Kansas City in that game. They're up by a 14-point bulge, and look what Denver's getting shut out at home by the Colts.
San Diego might be tough on these Raiders next week.
And, of course, the Redskins-Cowboys, you'll see the end of that game at the end of this one. Second, short yardage, that's a 1st down. Neil Lomax, pinpoint passing, his first completion of the game to Danny Pittman, number 85, former wide receiver of the Giants. And Jim Hanafin again told us he's very high on Danny Pittman.
Yes, he was hoping for an inspirational performance from Pittman, who grew up out here in California, and they just picked him up from the Giants, as you said. But you know what? You see the rain falling here, yet what do the Cardinals do? They're still willing to throw the ball. They're showing some arrogance against one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're saying, we're going to move the ball. This is our game, and we're not going to give it back to you.
About 5:15 left to go when the ball is snapped. Cardinals look at 1st and 10. Sweep to the right side. Anderson picks up 1, brings up 2nd down, and 9 yards to go. Rod Martin, veteran out of USC, cut by the Raiders back in '77 after being drafted in the 12th round, but then re-signed again, made the tackle defensively.
Rod Martin, possibly the best linebacker on the Raiders right now. Most people talk about Hendricks, but Rod Martin is certainly a solid player. Great year last year, is doing the same this season. Now, Jim, you look at the situation. There's 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the game. The Raiders trail by 10 points. They need to shut down St. Louis right now, get the ball back. They have big play capabilities on offense, but you can't do it because the Cardinals are going to be consuming the clock with this type of drive.
O.J. Anderson will try it on the left side. Cracks across the 25 up near the 27-yard line. 3rd and short. The Rams falling behind New England. Mosey to Tupu, his 3rd touchdown run of the afternoon. He's had runs of 7, 5, and 4 yards.
And you know, Jim, this keeps the Cardinals' hopes alive. Just once again to reiterate it, St. Louis must win their last 2. San Francisco or L.A. must lose their last 2. And Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay split their final games. So St. Louis still in the playoff hunt.
Shotgun by Neil Lomax. In the rain, fires underneath, incomplete. Roy Green on a post pattern. And it'll be Birdsong coming up and trying to do the punting.
Jim, Lomax just threw that ball away. He knew the rush was on. He didn't want to throw an interception. He didn't want to accept the sack, so he just threw it away. Another mark of a maturing young quarterback.
Birdsong in a driving rain. Otis Anderson now 18 carries, 93 yards. Needs 7 more for the century mark. Greg Pruitt backs up, fields at the 21. Will get out of bounds at about the 30-yard line, where they'll mark his forward progress. So we've got 3.5 left to go in regulation here in Raiderland. Los Angeles on the short end by 10. Cardinals lead at 34-24. Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum, a rain-soaked Coliseum right now where the Raiders are on the short end by 10. You saw the time left in this football game. A dramatic comeback by the Cardinals for you fans back at KMOX in St. Louis. St. Louis falling behind 17-0. And since then, they have been awesome. Todd Christensen drops the football. That's a free ball. It goes out of bounds. Raiders get a break because that was a free football.
You saw the referee looking at the ball. It was a free. It was a fumble. Christensen just coughed it up after being tackled. Lee Nelson all over him, along with Cedric Mack. And it rolls out of bounds, so they retain possession. Now, Jim, this is a team that can come back. They have the big weapons. They have Christensen. They have Branch on the outside. Barnwell with great speed. Plus, they have Plunkett and Marcus Allen. So they're a team that can come back and score in a hurry.
They will need to do exactly that with 3:23 left in regulation. Slot to the right side. Barnwell outside. Plunkett goes underneath. Dropped at the 39-yard line. That's a tough one for a receiver down there around the ankles. Pressure put on by Al Bubba Baker.
And this is a credit to the St. Louis Cardinals defense. Bubba Baker and company, Greer, putting pressure on Plunkett all afternoon. We said earlier in the show, if they were going to win this afternoon, that Curtis Greer, Baker, Galloway, Grooms would have to get into Plunkett's face, and that's what they've been doing. They've made things happen. They picked up a fumble for a touchdown after Baker knocked it out of Plunkett's hands, and that's been the difference, the pressure from the defense.
6 defensive backs in there for the St. Louis Cardinals now as Plunkett bends in and looks at 3rd and 5. Branch to the left, Barnwell in motion, top of your screen. Plunkett. That will be very close to a first down for the Raiders. Malcolm Barnwell in his 3rd year out of Virginia Union, a 7th-round draft pick back in 1980, hammered down by Lee Nelson. First down for the Raiders. They keep it alive. badly thrown ball, underthrown in the rain. You don't see Jim throw too many like that.
That was just a poorly thrown ball. Marcus Allen was slipping out of the backfield, tiptoeing his way between the linebackers. He was open. That would have been a good gain had Plunkett been able to get him the ball, Jim.
Cardinals doing a little more than stunning now. They've taken Curtis Greer from the right side, put him over on the left, and Bubba Baker lines up over on the right side. Bubba told us he had quite an adjustment to make to learn to play that left defensive end position. You're now lined up against the tight end. The running backs will block you. If you have a different stance, it's a different kind of a pass rush. So it was an adjustment for him to make since he came over from the Detroit Lions. Raiders look at 2nd and 10. They are down by 10. Plunkett, right side, got Branch. That's a first down for the Raiders. Loose football. Cardinals will pick it up. Did the ball blow? It was blown dead at the 47-yard line. It'll come back. Benny Perrin's apparent touchdown is nullified. It'll be a first down for the Raiders at the 47 of St. Louis.
Take a look at it again. That was very close. You see Smith over there, Wayne Smith arguing a little bit. Plunkett back to pass. The blitz is on. You see Junior on the left side. He's picked up. Plunkett gets the ball to Branch. Branch tries a move right there on Cedric Mack. But Mack rips the ball away. They said the whistle had blown, so that Benny Perrin picking it up and running for a touchdown. Not good for the Cardinals. They retain possession.
Well, it was always difficult for the visiting team, whether the Raiders' home base was Oakland or Los Angeles, right?
They're still talking about it, Jim. Referees.
Tell you what, though, when you look at the Raider organization and the fact that they win about 62% of the time and have been to the Super Bowl and been victorious there under Al Davis's leadership.
The correct time on the clock is 2:34. It will be wound.
So while they reset the clock, Al Davis, a man who really rewards loyalty. There are 7 former full-time Raider players now occupying positions in the Raider front office.
And it's interesting that Mike Haynes was telling us that the Raider organization, you're not old at 29 or 30. They'll allow you to play as long as you can perform. And that's the whole style of taking renegades, outcasts, and making them part of their unit, their team.
Slot to the left side. Plunkett goes up top again, 1st and 10. Looks for all of it, looks for Branch. Intercepted at the 7-yard line. Wayne Smith in his 4th year out of Purdue. Plunkett picked off for the 2nd time, 3 turnovers. The Raiders had 1 costly fumble, 2 interceptions against Plunkett, despite the fact that Jimmy had 3 touchdown passes in the first half.
Take a look at it again. Plunkett just doesn't get this ball out far enough. Wayne Smith makes a good reaction to it, but had Plunkett thrown it out over the top a little bit more than he did, you see it's underthrown right there, and Branch doesn't have a chance. Wayne Smith comes up with another interception, and that shuts down the drive for the Raiders.
So we've got 2:21 left to go in regulation. The Cardinals have just about sealed it. They lead 34-24 against the Raiders. The preceding announcement brought to you by the National Football League. You see Lyle Alzado, number 77, in the right foreground of that picture. What, of course, he has been on defense, though not in the second half. Raiders, of course, 11-3, have already clinched the AFC West. They were playing for best record in the AFC. And, of course, the Dolphins yesterday, with that win against Atlanta, up their record to 11-4. If this score stands, and there's no reason to think that the Cardinals will not win, then the Raiders would go to 11-4 and open up all kinds of possibilities for home field advantage between the Dolphins and the Raiders in the AFC playoffs. Cardinals from deep in their own territory. O.J. Anderson will just bowl over the left side, and he has just gained over 100 yards in this football game. Meanwhile, let's go to Texas Stadium and New York simultaneously. Brent Musburger, what's happening with the Redskins and the Cowboys? The Redskins and the Cowboys are going to hook horns at least one more time before this season rings to a close.
And it's been Dallas turnovers, Jim. A couple of interceptions led to Redskin TDs. That's the problem with most teams that have trouble in the NFL. Turnovers.
Now you take a look at that NFC East. The Redskins, to win the division, would have to finish up with a better record than the Cowboys. Of course, one will win the division and one will be the wild card team. That's why I got to believe they're going to meet one more time, Doc.
You would think so, Jim. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's a long shot. Very complicated playoff procedure. They have a long shot to get there, but it's very slim. We'll know after today because of all the complications, combinations.
A 10-point Cardinal lead and quite a St. Louis comeback. Raider fans speckled throughout the stands, imploring their defense to strip O.J. Anderson of the football, but he's off to a foot race across the 30 down to the 35. First down, St. Louis. Van McElroy was merely chasing O.J.
And, Jim, you look at the development of the St. Louis Cardinals. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. The St. Louis Cardinals are a team on the verge of being very competitive. But we're going to talk more about that when we come back here to the Coliseum. Of course, St. Louis leading 34-24, and a great comeback. As we said, they were down 17-0. They hung in there. They are now up by 10. There's 2 minutes left. We'll be back in a moment.
Time left in this football game, and the Cardinals, after falling behind 17-0, after seeing Jim Plunkett throw 3 first-half touchdowns, came back with a vengeance. They closed it to 24-20 just before the end of the first half on a dramatic play. Bubba Baker and Curtis Green putting all kinds of pressure. Groom scooped it up, went 40 yards, and the Cardinals closed to just a 4-point deficit. They scored on their first possession of the second half to take a 27-24 lead, and then Lomax took them 98 yards, threw 15 yards to Pat Tilley, 34-24, and that's where we are right now. All right, now let's update that playoff picture for those of you back at St. Louis who've been watching this football game on KMOX. In information supplied by the National Football League, we had been telling you that the Cardinals could still have some slim playoff hopes if they won their last 2 football games. And, of course, they have 50% there. They've got the Giants next week. However, because the 49ers have already won, their record is 9-6. That game against Buffalo in Buffalo today. And because right now the Rams are losing to the Patriots 21-7 by virtue of 3 Mosey to Tupu touchdown runs, if the Rams lose, they would be 8-7. The New Orleans Saints in overtime, 20-17 against the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium this afternoon. So New Orleans is 8-7. Because New Orleans plays the Rams, the winner of that game would come out with a record of 9-7.
And thereby be a playoff and knock the St. Louis Cardinals out of the playoff picture. Exactly, Jim. It was very complicated. The NFL headquarters went to their computer, and that's what they spat out for us, folks.
So the Cardinals will up their record to 7-7-1, and that Monday night tie, where Neil O'Donohue had all kinds of problems. We really can't put it just on Neil's shoulders because Roy Green dropped a touchdown pass. O.J. Anderson dropped a touchdown pass. It was just a sloppy football game. That tie looms very large now in the St. Louis record for this year.
And in truth, Jim, they had their shot. I mean, they played in Dallas, and they had a chance to control their own destiny. Instead, they lost 35-14 on Thanksgiving Day. So really, you can't blame it on anyone but themselves.
But unlike Thanksgiving Day, when they fell behind the Cowboys, they came back here against the Raiders after a 17-0 deficit. A lot of teams would have folded the tent. Cardinals did not. It means for the St. Louis fans, of course, a good foundation for Coach Jim Hanafin. And in fact, now they've only lost, John Dockery, 2 of their last 9 football games.
Things bid well for the future, Jim. I was just going to say, when you look at it, 2 years ago, they built around the offensive line with Lewis Sharp and Tootie Robbins. Last year, defensive backfield with Smith, Mack, and Washington. Next year, they may, shore up. Jim Hanafin was telling us that, yeah, we might like a linebacker and maybe another speedy wide receiver. So they're on the verge of being really respectable.
And he also feels, if you take a look at next Saturday here on CBS Sports, the Giants in the role of spoiler against the Redskins, who have had things pretty much their own way so far this afternoon at Texas Stadium. Washington, if they beat the Giants, of course, would clinch the NFC Eastern Division. It all starts at 11 o'clock Central Time with Brent, Irv, Phyllis, the Greek, and the NFL Today. Kickoff at 11:30 Central Time for you fans in St. Louis, and you will see what could be a big game in the NFC Central. The Lions, if they beat Tampa Bay, they could clinch that NFC Central next Sunday. Meanwhile, we are just 147 away from putting this one into the record books. O.J. Anderson had visions of lateraling the ball back to Neil Lomax. He was in the grasp of Greg Townsend, but he thought better of giving up the loose football. You talk about the Cardinals building. Jim Hanafin had a very difficult decision, whether to go with the young and very talented youngster, Neil Lomax, or the veteran, Jim Hart, who admittedly still can play great football for you. He opted to go with the young and the improving Neil Lomax. In the preseason, Jim Hanafin said in their preseason game against the Chicago Bears, that's really where that man, Neil Lomax, came of age. He had the fine preseason game. That's when he knew he was going with the youngster.
He is definitely going to be one of the top-flight quarterbacks in the NFL. He showed today his poise, his execution, excellent. Also, Jim, I think, Lomax is part of the future. And one of the reasons that the Cardinals had problems this year, Lomax was hurt for the better part of the first 6 games. That's when the Cards had most of their problems. Then they put a few games together. They won a whole bunch in the middle of the season. They won 5 of their last 8 games. So the Cardinals are on a roll. They want to finish up strong with thoughts about maybe playoffs next year, though.
Offense, 4th down.
Of course, being in the same division with Washington and Dallas, well, that's a tough situation. Of course, we're going to go to that Washington and Dallas game after this, time permitting.
Cardinals let the 30-second clock expire. They took the 5 yards, so Birdsong will bang it away. Of course, the Raiders will come and try to block this punt with just 1:03 left to go. Pruitt hopefully will set the Raiders up in good field position. Look out. Birdsong gets it away. It's a wobbly kick that Pruitt will field at the 38 and go almost out of bounds at the 43. He is hammered out after getting up to about the 44-yard line. Bill Whitaker, 3rd year out of Missouri, put the hit on Greg Pruitt. So with just 53 seconds left to go, let's see how Tom Flores will play it. Now, when you've got a banged-up Mark Wilson in a game that really is out of hand, 10 points, do you go with Jim Plunkett? Do you risk an injury in the rain? Or do you put in perhaps David Humm and say, all right, we'll take our lumps today and get ready for the Chargers next week?
Jim, I stay with Jim Plunkett. He's my quarterback. We have to be thinking playoffs. Maybe he can make something happen, possibly a miracle with 53 seconds left. But I stay with my quarterback. I don't sit him down.
Slot to the right side. Barnwell is out. Branch is inside. Plunkett, safety valve, batted down, and a great defensive play by Dave Galloway. He has played some kind of second half. He's had 2 sacks, 2 solo sacks here in the second half. He, along with Curtis Greer, putting all kinds of pressure on Jim Plunkett. Don't forget, we've been telling you about the Redskins and the Cowboys shootout down at Texas Stadium. 28-10, the last time we checked in with Brent.
There it is, Jim. Washington has taken a 31-10 lead late in the 4th quarter.
So Mark Mosley, who missed a costly field goal in their first meeting at RFK Stadium, has tacked on 3 more. We'll take you there at the end of this one. That's just 45 seconds from now. Plunkett in the grasp and control of about 3 St. Louis Cardinals. Stafford Mays, 4 years out of Washington, the first to get through. And that's what I mean. You really run the risk of having Jim Plunkett come out of this game a little more banged up.
You're exactly right. Stafford Mays manhandled Jim Plunkett. You see him trying to fix his pads. He practically ripped his shirt and his helmet off, threw him to the ground, and that's a chance you take. But look, he's the quarterback. This is a physical game, and that's the way it is. You have to deal with it, live with it.
3rd and about 20 from the 34 of the Raiders. Plunkett, pump fake, ball's batted down, picked off by Bubba Baker. Bubba Baker intercepts. That is the 3rd interception, the 4th turnover. 1 fumble recovery, 3 interceptions, 1st and 10 Cardinals. Their record goes to 7-7-1. The Raiders will fall to 11-4.
Turnovers have been part of this game. Take another look at it. Plunkett back to pass. Bubba Baker right there, fighting ahead. You'll see him come in right in the middle of your screen. Plunkett still looking. The ball's up in the air. Bubba actually had Plunkett, but keeps the presence of mind to make the interception. And St. Louis has dominated. The St. Louis defense has dominated the offense of the Los Angeles Raiders this afternoon. 4 turnovers for the Raiders. Really the costly thing, Jim. No turnovers for St. Louis.
Barring a penalty, this should be the last play of the football game. Cardinals will not have to start the clock again. Just 22 ticks remaining. Neil Lomax falls on the football, and that should just about do it. A great comeback for the Cardinals after falling behind 17-0. The big play that turned it around. Groom scooping up a loose fumble, going 40 yards just before the end of the first half to cut the Cardinal deficit to a 24-20 margin, and then to start the 3rd quarter on the St. Louis first possession. 66 yards in 6 plays. Wayne Morris around the right side. St. Louis led for the first time, and the only time they would need. 27-24. They shut the Raiders out the rest of the way, despite the facts Lomax took them on a 98-yard drive, capped off with a 15-yard scoring strike to Pat Tilley. 34-24, the final here. The Cardinals on top over the Los Angeles Raiders. So, as we said, they upped their record to 7-7-1. The Raiders fall to 11-4. And we'll be going to Dallas in just a couple of seconds. John Dockery, nice game and good season.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Jim Kelly. And the story of this game was really emotion. Okay, the Raiders were somewhat flat. They were looking down the road to the playoffs. St. Louis came in, they were hungry. They fought from 17 points down. They showed emotion in the defensive line. We said that at the top of the show. If guys like Bubba Baker, Curtis Greer could get to Plunkett, that would be the difference. They did. Plunkett threw a couple of interceptions, a couple of key turnovers, and that was the difference in this game. A credit to Jim Hanafin.
The executive producer of NFL football on CBS Sports is Terry O'Neill. The executive producer, Charles Milton III. Today's game produced by Californian Mike Burks and directed by Joe Carolet. Our spotter up in the booth is Billy Werndell. Now this is Jim Kelly.